look how far we've come, all the things we've done. Did it all with love, beauty from the bottom up. All I want is you, you're my favorite view, but there's nothing more, girl, you make my heart beat.
All right, guys, we're back. This is going to be the third and final installment of my book, You Are Not Broken. I want to touch on something from yesterday's read for those of you who are listening. We had a conversation yesterday about negative self-talk in the book. And when I jumped into the comments on YouTube this morning and was reading through and checking to see how the videos are doing, because ultimately I care, someone said that the negative self-talk chapter was fucking huge for them and that they were going to start writing their negative self-talk when it happens in their journal. And then they're going to try to backtrack to where that stems from. And I thought that was absolutely genius. And I can't believe I didn't think of it. I can't believe I didn't put it in a book. And I really think that that is something that needs to be implemented. So if you've just finished chapter or episode 2 of this series and you've got your journal and you are somebody who negative self-talk, then you should probably be doing the same thing. I think that's absolutely genius. So with that being said, I'm going to just jump into this. Hopefully we're not going to cry today. There was a whole lot of tears yesterday and a whole lot more on the first one that we did. This is not going to take very long. We're on page 145 right now. And I think there's only 194. So we only got, 50 pages to go. Should be an easy read today. 66 degrees and your perception. This is my favorite chapter. Imagine this. You're at home. Your air conditioner is set to 66 degrees. You're comfortable. Shorts, t-shirt, feet kicked up. This is your happy zone. You're chill, relaxed, content. Your partner, on the other hand, is bundled up in a hoodie, socks, curled up in a blanket, teeth almost chattering. They look at you and say, I can't take it anymore. This house is freezing. You look over like, what are you talking about? This is perfect. You say, you're crazy. This is the ideal temperature. So who's right? The person who feels cold or the one who feels fine? Truth is neither and both. Because this isn't about temperature. It's about perception. It's about experience. It's about reality and how reality shifts depending on who you are and what you've been through. Your reality is your reality, no one else's. So let's take this a step further. Let's say a few other people are there. Some agree with you. Yeah, it feels great in here. Others side with your partner. Are you kidding? It's freezing. You're outnumbered. Do you change your mind? Do you start questioning yourself? Does the group consistence shift your truth? Here's the thing. The thermostat hasn't changed. The number is still 66. That's just a fact. But how people feel about that number, that's where it gets messy. Now imagine this. It's summer, 90 degrees outside. You hop in your car and crank the AC to 66. It feels amazing. That cool air hits your skin like a breath of life. And now it's the middle of winter. You get in the same car and you've got the heater set to, 66, and suddenly it feels warm, comforting like a hug from your dashboard. Same temperature, different environment, different context, different perspective. The truth didn't change. What changed was everything around it. And that's what I'm trying to get you to understand. When you're dealing with hard situations, conflict, breakups, divorces, tension in your social circle, everyone will bring their own temperature to the table. Everyone wants to decide if the room is too hot or too cold based on their comfort level. They'll assign their story to your situation. They'll project their preferences, their trauma, their worldview onto something they were not even involved in. They'll create a narrative out of something that's not even theirs to interpret. And here's the kicker. They believe they're right. Because in their universe and their emotional temperature, that's the truth. That's what they feel. Just like yours feels true to you, but at the end of the day, 66 degrees is still just 66 degrees. Not good, not bad, not perfect, not painful, just a number. A fact, a neutral, unbiased point of data, and we, the people, come in and start assigning meaning to it based on our emotions, our context, and our stories. So what do you do with that? You stop letting other people define your reality. You stop letting their perception override your experience. You stop betting every time someone else says it's cold in here. When you know in your gut you're finally warm for the first time in years. People are going to talk. They're going to twist it. They're going to tell you. They're going to tell your story like it's theirs to tell. They're going to say you were too cold, too distant, too whatever. But that's their temperature talking. We have called this your cognitive bias on the podcast. And let them. Because when you understand this and really understand it, you realize that you don't need to argue. You don't need to defend your thermostat. You don't need to win their approval. Phone's ringing. Go away. I didn't say it at the beginning of this. This will be unedited, just like the other two. So all the ums and uhs and stumbles as I'm reading and all that shit, you guys get to sit and bear it with me. Bear witness to it. How about that? Because when you understand this and really understand it, you realize that you don't need to argue. You don't need to defend your thermostat. You don't need to win their approval. Your truth is your truth. Their truth is theirs. And in the middle, somewhere in the silence between both perspectives, that's where the actual objective reality lives. Simple, neutral, waiting for someone to assign meaning to it. So the next time someone tries to tell you what your story meant, what your emotion should have been, how you should have handled things, remember, it's just 66 degrees and you get to decide what that means in your world. The more you start to understand how people operate their cognitive biases, their conditioning, the filters they see the world through, the easier it becomes to let them have their own opinions without letting it shake you. Because that's what because that's all most of it is. Opinion, perspective, projection. Other people assigning their meaning to your story. And guess what? You're probably the villain in someone's version of it, and you're also guilty of this. Let them write it that way. Let them tell it however makes them feel better, because their version of you is not you. It's just their interpretation of the situations that they were in, their emotions, their unresolved shit, the details they chose to highlight, twist, or flat out fabricate. It's the story they needed to believe to make sense of things. And you know what? That doesn't make them wrong, and it sure as hell doesn't make them right. Even if they got a crowd behind them, even if 5 more people co-sign their version and say, yeah, that's what I heard too, that doesn't change your reality. And let's go back to the metaphor. Everyone says that 66 degrees is too cold. They're bundled up, uncomfortable, and complaining. But you're sitting in the same room, wearing a t-shirt and shorts, finally breathing easy for the first time in years. Who's right? You are, because you're the one living your life. You are the one in your body, with your history, with your healing, with your choices. And if 66 degrees feels good for you, then that's the only answer that matters. Their opinion doesn't get to override your peace. Their discomfort doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. Their version of your story doesn't get to dictate how you live it. Their version of your story does not get to dictate how you live it. Fucking love that. Live your life anyway. You were not put on this earth to make everyone comfortable. You weren't born to constantly adjust your thermostat based on everyone else's reactions. You weren't meant to shrink your truth because it doesn't match the group consensus. Because at the end of this life, when it's all said and done, and you stand before whatever higher power you believe in, no one's going to ask you about how well you managed others' expectations. You're not going to be judged for how many people agreed with you. You're not going to be held accountable for whether or not you made someone else feel better about their version of events. You'll be asked one thing: did you live your life? Yours, not theirs, not the version people created for you, not the image you felt pressured to maintain, not the part of you were cast in just to keep the peace. Your life, your choices, your story. So why the hell would you waste your time worrying about someone else's opinion of what 66 degrees feels like? Why would you bend, contort, and betray your own peace to fit into someone else's story when you were never meant to be the hero? Let them think what they want. Let them feel what they want. Let them stay cold if they need to. But you stay where the temperature is right for you, because the only person you have to answer to in the end is the one staring back at you in the mirror. That person deserves a life that actually feels like their own. One of the most quietly destructive parts of a relationship, the kind of thing that creeps in over time unnoticed until you're fully buried in it, is trying to acclimate to someone else's temperature. And look, some of that is just part of love, part of marriage. You will make sacrifices. You will make compromises. That's what partnership means. Two people trying to coexist in the same space with different upbringings, different emotional temperatures, different needs. It's never going to be perfect. And if you love someone, you will make adjustments. You will bend. You'll do your best to find a balance between your comfort and theirs. But here's where it gets dangerous. When the relationship starts to tilt too far in one direction, when the balance becomes imbalance, when you find yourself constantly giving up the things that make you happy, the things that give you peace, the things that make you, just to keep them comfortable, that's when you lose yourself. That's when you start sending the message, intentionally or not, that their happiness matters more than yours. And sometimes those sacrifices don't feel like much in the moment. You give up little things, change a few habits, dull your shine just a little, say yes when you want to say no, stay quiet when your gut is screaming. You tell yourself it's not a big deal, that you're just being supportive, that this is what love is supposed to look like. But over time, those little things pile up and suddenly you're gone. Your voice, your needs, your desires buried under theirs, and the worst part, they get used to it. They stop asking you what you want. They stop checking in. They don't even notice the sacrifices anymore because you've made it so easy for them to never have to. And why would they? You taught them that your comfort is optional. And I know when I put it like that, it sounds harsh. It sounds like I'm putting the blame on you, and I'm not, but I am giving it to you straight. When you are the one to bend again and again without boundaries, without speaking up, you're showing them that they can take more. And if they're not self-aware, they'll just keep taking, not out of malice, but out of habit. That's why the check-ins matter. It's why we created them, so that you can have hard conversations, so that you can learn how to effectively communicate with each other. And that's why we stress the importance of open, uncomfortable conversations. That's why we say that you need to be willing to say the hard things, even when it might lead to conflict, even when it might hurt a little. Because this isn't about winning or keeping score. It's about maintaining equity. It's about making sure both people still feel seen, heard, and valued, because your 66 degrees might feel just fine to you, but your partner might be freezing or burning up, and neither of you is wrong for how you feel. It's just perception, experience, life lessons, and cognitive bias. And no, accountability doesn't mean blame. It means ownership. It means saying, hey, I see how this might be affecting you. I still disagree, but I'm willing to hear you. I'm willing to work with you instead of trying to change your mind. But we have to work together, not against each other. Their cold and your hot can coexist, but only if you stop trying to convince each other that your experience is the only valid one. Only if you stop treating your comfort as default and theirs as inconvenience. Only if both of you are willing to do the damn work to find a middle ground that doesn't require either of you to disappear in the process. So no, you don't have to give up on the things that make you happy, and no, they don't have to ignore what makes them uncomfortable. But you do need to talk about it. You do need to be honest. You do need to stop pretending that you're okay with freezing just because they need it cold. And stop asking them to sweat it out just because you've gotten used to the heat. Marriage isn't just about controlling the thermostat. It's about learning how to share the air. And if you can't do that, someone's always going to feel like they're suffocating. I really like this chapter, guys. This is my favorite chapter of the whole book. Now, it's a great time to pull your new best friend out, your journal. Take a second, breathe, and start writing, and then start writing. I want you to list all the things you can remember that keep you and your partner from being on the same page. The stuff that came up over and over again, the tension that never really got resolved, the disconnects that made you feel like you were speaking different languages, even when you were trying to fix it. What were the things that you could have budged on and didn't, excuse me. And more importantly, why didn't you? Was it pride? Was it fear? Were you trying to hold on to something that made you feel like it still mattered or you still mattered? Were you trying to prove a point, or were you just too tired to fight? Then flip it. What were the things you did give up on and ended up regretting? Where did you bend too far? Where did you start letting parts of yourself go just to keep the peace? What did you silence, push aside, or let die in order to make someone else comfortable? Write it all down, all of it. Was it the conflict? Was the conflict between you constant? Did you feel like you were having the same argument every other week, but with just with different words? Were you both stuck emotionally gridlocked? Were you both stuck emotionally gridlocked because neither of you wanted to take the first step towards something real? Be honest here. How much of all of that did it impact? How much did all of that impact your overall view of your marriage or relationship? Did it change how you felt about them? Did it change how you felt about yourself? Once you get all of that, now you've got something. You've got the blueprints to your future, and it's in your hands. This is why we journal. This is why we don't avoid the hard conversations, because what you just wrote, that's the foundation of every conversation you're going to need to have when you decide to start dating again. You know where the cracks were. You know what your non-negotiables are. You know where you gave too much and where you refused to give at all. And that kind of self-awareness, that's rare. Most people don't have that going into new relationships. Most people are just winging it and carrying all the baggage from their past. You won't be. So now, when you sit across the table from someone and things feel good, you'll also be paying attention, not just to how they make you feel, but how they handle conflict, communication, accountability, balance. You'll have actual questions to ask, real conversations to have. You'll be able to say, here's what I've learned. Here's what I'm looking for. How do you feel about this? And hopefully you'll be able to learn if they can meet you there or not. And if the answer is no, cool, move on. Better to know in 3 dates than after 3 years. That's the point of all of this. Not to just heal from what happened, but to stop it from happening again, to stop sleepwalking into relationships with people who were never actually compatible with the real you. I know people don't want to be called Karens. No one wants to be that person, the one who speaks up, who complains, who makes noise. We've been conditioned to believe that standing up for ourselves makes us difficult, that setting boundaries is aggressive, that having expectations somehow makes you selfish. Lose that mindset right now, because here's the truth. No one is going to stand up for you if you won't stand up for yourself. No one's coming to save you. No one's going to magically read your mind and figure out what it is that you need. And if you keep silencing yourself just to keep the peace, eventually you'll be the only one suffering. Boundaries aren't rude. Expectations aren't unrealistic. Speaking up about what bothers you isn't a character flaw. It's self-respect. I highly recommend, as you guys are reading this or listening to me, if we're not live, because there are people listening live, pause what you're doing right now and get out your phone or whatever you're doing, whatever you're on. Search Google for there was no one left to speak up. Holocaust Museum. There isn't. I'll just read it. Sorry, guys. You have to just bear with me for 1 second. This is probably going to make me cry. Damn it. This is actually a poem that is at the Holocaust Museum. And it says, "First, when they came for the communist, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me." If you guys have never been to the Holocaust Museum, I truly believe that that's something that everyone needs to experience just once in their life. That is one of the most horrific things I have ever witnessed. And that's the energy that I was putting into that chapter. Because if you don't speak up, no one else is going to speak up for you. That's just not a thing. Back to the book. You have the right to say what's okay with you and what isn't. You have the right to say, no, not anymore. That doesn't work for me. And you have the right to do it all without guilt. But here's where people get tripped up. You have to be clear. You have to be real. And you have to understand the difference between truth and perception, especially when you're in conflict or trying to communicate your needs. So yeah, let's go back to the 66 degrees metaphor one more time. That number, it's just a number. It's not too cold or perfect or too hot until someone decides that it is. All of those things are meanings that we attach. They are emotional projections, personal experiences, bias. Your 66 might feel amazing. Someone else's might feel unbearable. That doesn't mean you're wrong and it doesn't make them right. It just means that you're living in two different realities. So when you're setting your boundaries, when you're explaining what's okay for you, remember this. You don't have to convince anyone that your truth is the truth. You just have to know that it's yours. You just have to know what feels right in your body, your mind, your life. You're not crazy. You're not a Karen. You're not difficult for wanting peace, clarity, respect, and alignment. You're just someone who's finally learning to speak up. Someone who's finally learning that your comfort is just as important as anyone else's. Someone who's realizing that if you keep making yourself small so that other people can stay comfortable, you'll wake up one day and have no idea who you are. So here it is. Set your damn boundaries, have your expectations, chase your goals, speak your truth, even when your voice shakes, even when people don't agree, even when it makes you the bad guy in someone else's version of the story. Because 66 degrees is just 66 degrees, and everything else is just noise. I hope this helps the next time you feel the need to speak up, because trust me, your silence won't save you, but your self-respect will. Oh, I fucking love that chapter. I really fuck with metaphors, right? And like that, I don't know. It's just my jam. That was my favorite chapter of the whole book. Chapter 3, Transformation. A reptile sheds its skin between a rock and a hard place. Think about that. It doesn't happen in comfort. It doesn't happen in ease. It happens in pressure and friction. A tight space that forces it to rub off the old and leave behind what no longer fits, so it can survive and keep growing. You're no reptile, but right now you are between a rock and a hard place. And this moment in your life, this stretch of pain, transition, confusion, and grief, this is your moment of shedding, or this is your shedding moment. This is the crossroads. You can either shed the skin of your life that wasn't working for you, or you can stay in it. Stay stuck, stay small, stay bitter, stay in cycles that drained you. But understand this, staying doesn't mean surviving. It means slowly suffocating in a version of yourself that already knows it's over. Look, I could sit here and give you 1,000 metaphors about change, growth, death, and rebirth. I could talk to you about caterpillars, phoenixes, and all that poetic shit, but you don't need poetry right now. You need reality. And the reality is, you know that what your life looked like before the split. You know what the relationship gave you, and more importantly, what it took from you. You know what parts of yourself got lost along the way. You know where you stopped showing up for you. And even if you miss them, even if there's regret in how it ended, there are parts of it you're secretly grateful for. Be real about that, because now you have space. Now you get to live for yourself. Now you get to figure out what you love again. You can rediscover passions, pick up hobbies you let die, or hell, sit on the couch after work in your boxers doing absolutely nothing and not have to justify it to anyone. That freedom you feel, that breath of air you didn't even realize you were missing, that's yours now. Unless you've got kids, and yes, your time and energy still go towards raising humans, but even then, even in that responsibility, you can still reclaim your identity. You can still lead by example, show them what growth looks like, show them what it means to take ownership of your life and choose peace over performance. The truth is, you have a chance to rebuild your entire life, not just tweak it, not just repair what's broken. You have a blank canvas. This is a full reset, if you choose to see it that way. If you treat this time in your life as a sentence, like you're being punished, you'll shrink. But if you treat it like you're finally free to write your own damn story, you'll grow into someone even you haven't met yet. Assign meaning to this season Assign meaning to this season that fuels creativity, curiosity, self-respect, and peace. Let this be the chapter where everything changes, where everything starts. I've said this in earlier chapters, and I'll say it again. Your happiness is your responsibility. So ask yourself, what does happiness actually look like for you? What kind of life would make you want to jump out of bed in the morning, not for anyone else, but for you? What kind of day would make you pause in the middle of it and say, damn, I really love this version of me? That is something that I get to say every day. Peaches and I had a conversation in the gym this morning on my side rail, and we were talking about other people's lives that are close to us, because we unfortunately are a traumatic punching bag for people, and that they lay all of their trauma at our feet because they know what we do for a living. And we discuss things and we try to find ways to assist people. And we had a moment in between shoulder presses where I was like, isn't it insane how drama filled people's lives are and how they choose to be there? And my biggest stresses in life isn't drama. It's figuring out what to do with our finances and our work schedule. Her biggest stressor in life is figuring out what we want for dinner. There's no drama. There's no ugly. There's no hostility. There's no whirlwinds or tornadoes that come through here and disrupt our fucking peace. And I really do love this version of me. I love what we've built. Back to the book. That's your goal now. Go build it. And don't stop shedding until you outgrow every version of yourself that once settled for less. While we're on the topic of transformation, of shedding your old skin and stepping into something new, it's important we don't skip over the part most people try to avoid: remembering. Because you're working on becoming a new version of yourself. You're manifesting, you're healing, you're rebuilding, you're trying to move forward with purpose and clarity, but that doesn't mean the past just disappears. During this phase, this stretch of healing and growing, you're going to have moments where memories sneak in. And not the bad ones, the good ones, the smiles, the moments of laughter, the private jokes that no one else understood, the late nights that you stayed up dreaming about the future, the hard times you weathered together. You might remember the way they held your hand when everything felt like it was falling apart. You might remember the look on their face when they were proud of you, or how it felt to just be in sync for a little while before everything changed. Let yourself feel that. Seriously, lean into it. Let the emotions come up. You don't have to shut them down just because you're trying to move on. You don't have to hate every piece of your past to prove you've grown. Because here's the truth, it wasn't all bad, and that's okay to admit. Acknowledging the good doesn't mean you're slipping backwards. It doesn't mean that you should reach out. It doesn't mean reconciliation is the answer. It just means you're human. Sometimes two people have real love, real moments, real connection, and still aren't right for each other. Compatibility means compatibility matters, communication matters, emotional availability matters, consistency matters. And sometimes those things aren't there. Even when love was, that realization doesn't erase the good times, and good times don't cancel out the pain. And the good times don't cancel out the pain. Both can be true. 66 degrees is just 66 degrees. But when you're able to look back and hold space for all of the good, all of the bad, the love, the loss, you're not just remembering, you're growing. You're learning to take accountability for your part without drowning in shame. You're starting to see the other person as flawed and human too. You're learning how to let go from bitterness or resentment, but not from bitterness or resentment, but from understanding. And maybe, just maybe, you'll get to a point where you can actually forgive them, not for them, but for you. So you're not carrying it anymore. You're not letting old wounds dictate your new story. Let the memories come. Let them move through you. Let them remind you that there was love, there was beauty, there was a connection, but now there's freedom. And the more honest you are about where you've been, the stronger and clearer you'll be about where you're going. And if you're ever going to date again, you want a clean slate, not contempt, hate, and baggage for your ex. You've got to move forward, not backwards. During your transformation phase, the rebuilding, the reinvention, the climb, don't be surprised when your old life starts calling you back. And it will. The bad habits, the patterns that numb the pain, the routines that kept you busy enough to avoid thinking about how unhappy you were, they're going to show up again like old friends, ready to pull you back into the comfort. But comfort is the killer of change. The things that haven't served you, the behaviors that left you stuck in the mindset that kept you small, the excuses and labels that became your identity, they're familiar, and familiar feels safe, especially when everything else in your life feels like it's on fire. You might catch yourself slipping, skipping the journal, bailing on the gym, reaching out to someone who you swore you'd leave behind, letting chaos back in because at least you know how to survive it. That's part of it. You might start losing friends too, or feel like you can't connect to anyone new. Suddenly people you used to vibe with don't feel like your people anymore. You're outgrowing them. They feel it, you feel it. It's awkward, it's lonely. That's normal. Change is hard. That's why most people don't do it. If this was easy, if transformation was as simple as a quote on social media, everyone would be doing it. Everyone would be leveling up. Everyone would be healing their trauma, communicating better, becoming healthier, more grounded, more loving, more whole. But they're not, because this shit requires pain. It requires work. It requires letting parts of you die. And not just the bad parts. Sometimes it means letting go of versions of you that got you through the hardest times, versions of you that kept you safe when no one else would. But they're not meant to build the next chapter. They were built in survival mode, and now you're trying to live. So yeah, it's going to hurt. You're going to have days where it feels easier to go backwards. You're going to feel resistance from your mind, from your body, your environment, and your circle. Everything will drag you back to what's comfortable. But remember, for the new you to live, the old you has to die. And you're not the one, and you are the one who has to kill it. I really have a whole lot of typos in here. I should have sent this shit to an editor. This isn't the same graceful, slow shift. It's a battle. It's conscious choice. Every damn day, every time you don't feel like journaling, every time you want to scroll instead of reflect, every time you reach for junk instead of taking care of your body, every time you want to ghost yourself instead of sitting with the hard emotions. That's the old you fighting for its life. That's the old you fighting for its life. And you've got to be stronger than that voice. You got to say, not this time. You've got to remember that new behavior takes time. New neural pathways don't just form overnight. They form through repetition, through choosing the hard over the easy. Again and again, it won't be perfect. You'll mess up, you'll slip, but that doesn't mean it's over. It just means that you have to want this bad enough to keep going, even when it sucks, even when no one is cheering you on, even when it's just you, your pain, and your journal. Because this version of you, the one who's doing the work, feeling everything, refusing to quit, that's the one worth fighting for. It's important, especially during the setbacks, that you give yourself grace. And let me be clear, grace doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean throwing your hands in the air and saying, screw it, I messed up, I'll try again tomorrow. Grace means recognizing that you're human. It means understanding that falling short sometimes is part of the process. It means not using the bad moment as an excuse to throw away your good day. When I was doing personal training, one of the biggest struggles I saw over and over again was with diet. People would start strong, motivation was high, goals were clear. They had the plan, the support, the tools, then one day they broke. A donut, a Starbucks drink, something outside the plan. And instead of saying, okay, that happened, let's get back on track, they'd spiral. The whole day would get trashed. Already messed up, might as well just eat what I want and start fresh tomorrow. Sound familiar? That's like accidentally hitting your thumb with a hammer and then on purpose smashing the rest of your fingers just because you're already in pain. Sounds ridiculous when you put it that way, doesn't it? But that's exactly what's happening. The real issue wasn't the donut. It wasn't the sugary coffee. It wasn't even willpower. The truth is they didn't actually want to change. They wanted results. They wanted the body. They wanted to feel good again, but they didn't want to give up their daily comforts that had become their only source of joy. And here's the part that's hard to admit. Most of them were miserable, not just out of shape, not just tired or stressed. They were unhappy in their lives. A lot of them were stuck in marriages where they didn't feel loved, seen, appreciated, or wanted. So that daily Starbucks, that moment up with the donut, that was the only pleasure that they were getting. And I get it. We've talked about the effects of sugar on the brain. When everything feels like shit, when your relationship is cold, when your job drains you, when you've lost sight of who you are, those little comforts become everything. But here's the hard truth. You can't build a new life on top of old excuses. You can't build a new life on top of old excuses. Woo! Damn. You can't create change without discomfort. You can't keep numbing yourself with tiny pleasures and expect to feel truly alive. So when you slip, and you will, don't punish yourself. Don't justify quitting either. Take the hit, feel the setback, then get back up and keep going, because this isn't about perfection. It's about momentum. It's about showing up for yourself even when it's messy, especially when it's messy. That's how you build discipline. That's how you earn trust with yourself. That's how you change your life, one honest moment at a time. Grace, not excuses. Progress, not perfection. And above all, consistency over comfort. Nature is full of transformation. You see it everywhere. Snakes shed their skin when they've outgrown it. Crabs and insects molts, breaking out of their hard outer shell to keep growing. Caterpillars spin themselves into cocoons, dissolve everything they are, and emerge as something entirely different. These aren't optional changes. They're ingrained into the survival of the species, built into their DNA, forced by biology. They don't get to fight it. They don't get to choose when it happens or how. It just is a part of their evolution. Now, here's where we are different. We are the only species in the known universe that has the power to transform by choice. Not because we're forced to, not because some internal clock tells us it's time, but because we can stand in the front of a mirror, look ourselves dead in the eyes and say, I don't want to live like this anymore. Think about that. We can imagine the version of ourselves that doesn't exist yet. We can visualize who we want to become. We can see a life that we're not living yet and decide right here, right now to go build it. No other creature on the planet has that ability. No other species can manifest their future, a future reality by pure conscious intention and then act on it. But we can. And yet most people never do. Most people stay stuck. They choose the comfort they know over the fear, laziness, trauma, they let fear, laziness, trauma, and ego dictate their evolution, or worse, stall it out completely. They let the old version of themselves keep running the show long after it's expired. And here's the truth that might sting a little. You don't need permission to change. You need a decision. You need to get to the point where staying the same hurts more than the risk of becoming someone new. Because unlike the snake or butterfly, you're not going to shed unless you choose to. You can live your whole life in the same skin, same cycles, same stories, and that's what you'll settle for, and a lot of people do. But you, if you're reading this or listening, if you're listening to this, if you're doing the work, questioning, writing, reflecting, and even struggling, then something in you already knows you were meant for more. You were not designed to stay stuck. You were not born to stay in a version of yourself that's been outgrown. You are not here to just exist. You are here to evolve. And that evolution is yours to create, not because you have to, but because you can. You can change your story. You can burn the old version down and rise again. You can unlearn the patterns that broke you and rebuild new ones from the ground up. You just have to want it bad enough. You have to take action. You have to choose discomfort over familiarity, growth or over stagnation, accountability over blame. It's not easy. It's not quick. And it sure as hell won't always feel good, but it's possible. And if it's yours, it's yours for the taking. Nature has its way of evolving life by force. You get to do it by will. So don't waste that gift. The next version of you is waiting. Go meet them. Before I move on to chapter 14, I made a TikTok recently about change not being a linear thing. change is 5 steps. And then there's a bonus one that's a 6th. And that is, I made notes, made a whole TikTok about this, and I'm drawing a blank right now, but I'm just going to look and see if it's still in my notes so that I don't fuck this up. Nope. All right, let's Google. Okay. And I definitely would have got it wrong. First one is pre-contemplation. This is you not thinking about changing your behavior in any way or being completely unaware of the problem. The second one is contemplation. This is you considering making change, weighing the pros and cons of your behavior. Step 3 is preparation. We all know what preparation is. Step 4 is action. This is you starting to take the steps to improve your life and changing your situation. And then number 5 is maintenance. Maintenance is you continuing those behavioral patterns and instilling new habits and doing the things that are going to ensure the success of change. The 6th one, which is the official step to change, is relapsing. And you will relapse because you're going to have the moment where you want the donut or the sugary Starbucks drink. You're going to have that moment where you've been sober for 300 days and you fucking crack because life is stressful and you have a drink and tomorrow is day 1. These are all things that are normal in the process of growth. And if you never have a setback, you're not really being challenged in life. You don't know what it is to have to face demons, to overcome obstacles. You're not going to ever really grow or get strong if things are easy. With weightlifting, you build your muscles by putting yourself under a load, fighting against it, forcing your body to adapt to that new weight. Change is no different. So for those of you who feel like it's linear and just because you messed up, you can ruin an entire day or you should just quit. This is just normal. You're going to have a bad day. Every decision that you've made in your life has gotten you where you are today. And if you're overweight, if you're obese, if you have, fucked up hygiene or whatever it is, and your body is messed up because of it, it's not from a single choice. It's from 1,000 choices that have been made over and over and over again. It takes years to get to that point. It's going to take time for you to reestablish new behavior patterns and to get things back into working order. Be patient, have grace, and fucking love yourself. Chapter 14, the most important decision you will ever make. If you got this far and are doing the work, you have started building a new you. You are not going to be dating just to see where things go anymore. You're not showing up in half-ass situations that feel like relationships but don't act like them. You're not here to be breadcrumbed, manipulated, or kept on a shelf until it's convenient. Not anymore. You've already been through hell. You've sat in the silence. You've looked in the mirror and dealt with all the shit that you tried to avoid. You've cried on the floor. You've put yourself back together piece by piece. And now you get to take that new version of yourself, the one who knows their worth, and bring them into the dating world without apology. This isn't about chasing people, convincing someone you're worthy, or fixing broken people so they'll choose you. Those days are over. This is about clarity, intention, respect. And if that scares someone off, good, let them go. You're not here to make people comfortable. You're here to build something real. Dating with intent doesn't start with the app or the person who makes you laugh at the gym. It starts with you. Before you ever meet anyone, you have to ask yourself the hard questions. What do I actually want in a relationship? What do I need to feel emotionally safe? What are my absolute non-negotiables? What behaviors did I allow in the past that I'll never tolerate again? If you don't know what you're looking for, how will you know if you found it? This is where a lot of people get it wrong. They get caught up in chemistry, lust, and connection, not feeling lonely anymore, thinking that means that this is the one. But vibes don't pay emotional rent. You don't date now hoping that someone turns out to be a good fit. You're watching and listening from the start, evaluating whether they actually align with the life that you're building. Let's talk about courtship, because that word gets lost in today's dating world. Everyone wants low effort, high return. They think showing up is enough, but courtship is different from just dating. Dating is spending time. Courtship is being intentional with it. Courtship is presence. It's energy. It's the energy of I'm here for something real and I show up like it. It doesn't mean demanding marriage on the second date. It just means being upfront about what it is that you're looking for. You don't have to pressure anyone. You don't have to, you do have to state your purpose. I'm dating with the goal of building something meaningful. If that's not what you're about, cool, but let's not waste each other's time. You're not asking for too much. You're just not accepting too little. Not anymore. And when it comes to dating with intention, with people, what people say means nothing if their actions don't match. They can talk a big game. I'm not like your ex. I'm looking for something serious. I'd never hurt you. Great. But do they make time for you? Do they listen? Do they follow through? Do they handle conflict like an adult or disappear the second things get real? And don't act like that wasn't said from every person you've ever dated. Let's also not pretend that you were a mess of a person in those relationship also. Intentional dating means you don't get caught up in the charm. You don't fall in love with the potential. You're watching for patterns, not promises. Consistency over chemistry. Follow through over flattery. You're paying attention to how they treat you when it's inconvenient. You're watching how they show up without having to be asked. Courtship is about respect. It's about asking questions that matter, listening without defensiveness, respecting boundaries, and putting in effort consistently. Not just in the honeymoon phase. It's making plans and sticking to them. It's treating you like you matter before saying the words. And when someone can't do that, when they ghost or breadcrumb or make you question your worth, that's your answer. You don't chase, you don't beg, you don't shrink yourself or stay quiet to avoid scaring them off. You observe their actions and energy. And if their energy is all over the place, you walk gracefully with your head up without guilt. Because here's the thing, if you can't be honest about what you want, you're not ready to date. If you're still afraid of being rejected for having needs or holding boundaries, go back to the healing. Keep doing the work. Learn to stand for your truth, in your truth, even if it costs you the person sitting across from you. Dating with intent requires honesty. It demands clarity, confidence, and you have to be brave enough to say, this is who I am, this is what I want, and I'm not afraid to lose somebody that doesn't align with that. Fuck, some of y'all need to hear that. When love comes around again, and it better feel different this time. It better feel like peace, not anxiety. It better feel like consistency, not chaos. It better feel like something that builds you up, not something that you have to survive. That's not what you're looking for now. Not a fantasy, not fireworks, not a quick fix for loneliness. You're looking for someone who's also alone, who's also done the work. Someone who understands the language of healing, someone who's not intimidated by your standards, but respects them because they've got their own. So be open, but not naive. Be hopeful, but not desperate. Be available, but don't lower your standards just to keep someone who doesn't meet them. You're not dating for fun anymore. You're dating for real. This is sacred work now. Because what you're doing isn't casual. It's intentional. You've already fought too hard for your peace to let anyone come in and disrupt it. So protect it, hold it close. Don't give it to people who aren't ready for it. You've already survived the worst of it. Now it's time to build something that feels like home. Not like a battlefield, something you don't have to fight to keep. You're not just looking for a partner, you're choosing a future. So date like you mean it and never forget you've earned the kind of love that doesn't make you question your worth. We've said it before and it's worth repeating again, louder for those in the back. The most important decision you'll ever make in your life is who you choose to marry. Not your job, not your zip code, not your friend group or how many followers you've got. Your person, the one that you let into your most vulnerable spaces, the one you build a home, a future, a life with. That choice will shape everything. And if you're here reading this, if you're going through a divorce or still trying to steady yourself after one, you know how true that is. That sentence doesn't just sit on the page anymore. You feel it in your bones. And the quiet nights and the legal bills and the therapy sessions and the pieces of yourself you're still putting back together. The person you choose to walk through life with has the power to change your entire trajectory. Say that again. The person you choose to walk through life with has the power to change your entire trajectory. A partner can either build you into the strongest, most grounded, most capable version of yourself, or they can tear you apart from the inside out. They can be the sun that helps you rise, steady and strong, or the storm that keeps you buried in the mud, wondering if you were ever meant to grow at all. And here's the thing, when it's good, when you've chosen right, it's magic. The right partner won't just support you, they'll inspire you. They'll make something... They'll wake something up in you that you forgot was there. Fuck me, dude. My eyes are watery. Can't read. Everything's blurry. They'll wake something in you that you forgot was even there. They'll believe in your potential so fiercely that you actually start to believe it too. They'll change. They'll challenge you to grow. but they'll also give you a soft space to land. They'll see your effort, your heart, your intentions, and they'll mirror it right back. You'll work harder than you've ever have. You'll want to, not out of fear, not from obligation, but because being better for them makes you better for you. It becomes symbiotic. You lift each other, you push each other, you root for each other, and in that you both thrive. When you're with someone who's right for you, life doesn't get easier, but it feels lighter because you're not carrying it alone. Because even on the worst days, you don't have to question your worth, your value, whether you're loved. That kind of security, that's everything. They'll shift your worldview. You'll see joy in the small stuff again. You'll find peace in the chaos. You'll learn that love can be calm, that communication doesn't have to come with raised voices, that accountability can be compassionate. You'll experience what it's like to be chosen consistently without having to shrink yourself or set yourself on fire just to keep the room warm. It's not a fairy tale. It's not perfect. There will be conflict. There will be growth. But the difference is you'll both show up for it. No one is dragging the other. No one is weaponizing vulnerability. You'll disagree, but you'll never disrespect. You'll face storms, but you'll stand on the same side of the boat. That's what choosing right feels like. And that's why choosing wrong hurts so much, because the wrong person can convince you that love is supposed to be hard, that you're asking for too much, that emotional safety is negotiable, that walking on eggshells is normal. They can make you question your own memory, your own gut, your own self-worth. And over time, that robs you of so much more than your happiness. It steals your energy, your creativity, your sense of peace, your trust in people, and your trust in yourself. So yes, your partner, the partner you choose matters more than anything. It's okay if you got it wrong before. Most people do. You choose the best you could with the information you had at the time. And when it wasn't what you needed, when it hurt more than it helped, you found the courage to walk away. That's something to be proud of. But now you get to choose again. And this time, hopefully you'll choose with a wiser heart. You won't settle for potential. You won't confuse chaos with passion. You won't stay just because of shared history. You'll choose peace over patterns. You'll choose clarity over confusion. You'll choose love that feels like love, not just what you think it looks like, or settling because of low self-worth. You'll choose someone who's done the work, someone who knows how to sit with their own silence, someone who doesn't need saving, but knows how to save space for you, someone who isn't perfect, but wants to be better for themselves and for you. You'll choose someone who sees your growth and doesn't flinch from it, who doesn't try to shrink you, who says, I see who you are becoming and I want to be better with you. That got me. And maybe most importantly, this time you'll choose yourself first, because you've already lived the version of your life where you didn't. Now it's time for a version where you do. And when you find someone who fits that version of you, the whole healing, self-loving version, that's when everything changes. When we say the most important decision you'll ever make is who you pick as a partner, we mean it. And now you do too. Yep, it got me. Told you we get through this pretty quick. Chapter 15, starting over. All right, at this point in the book, I think it's time we talk about something, getting back out there. Yeah, dating. And let's just be honest, the dating pool, it needs bleach, a lot of it. Like a full hazmat suit, level 5, biohazard type cleanup. It's messy. People are walking around with unresolved trauma, playing games, ghosting each other, swearing that they want something real while doing everything in their power to avoid vulnerability. It's a circus. But here's the thing, that doesn't mean you have to get dragged into the chaos. You've done the work, you've journaled, you've unpacked your shit, you've been honest with yourself about what you want, what you won't tolerate, what you absolutely can't afford to ignore ever again. That gives you a serious advantage, because most people aren't doing that. Most people date from their wounds. They walk in bitterness and call it boundaries. They project old pain onto new people and call it having standards, but not you. You're showing up with awareness. You're not dating from pain. You're dating with purpose, and that's rare. Now let's get something clear. Take it slow. I don't care if you met on an app, in a grocery store, through mutual friends, although I actually like that the most. At a gym, wherever, doesn't matter. Just don't jump headfirst into hookup culture like you've got something to prove. Respect yourself more than that. Respect the person you're meeting more than that. And above all, respect the time and energy you've already put into your healing journey. Because here's what people don't want to admit. Having sex too early in a connection can blind the hell out of you, especially if the sex is good. The brain chemicals kick in and suddenly you're making excuses for things you swore you would never tolerate. Red flags start to look like quirks. And before you know it, you've wasted 6 months trying to make it work with somebody you were never compatible with in the first place. And yeah, let's talk about worst case scenarios for a second. What if there is an oops, a pregnancy? What if a person turns out to be emotionally immature, manipulative, or flat out toxic? Now you're tied to someone who you should have been just a passing interaction with. And you're locked into an 18-year-old situation with someone you barely knew. That's real. That's not fear-mongering. That's what happens when lust overrides logic. You might be thinking, well, I can read people. I've got good instincts. I can spot bullshit. Cool. How has that worked out for you so far? This isn't about fear. This is about intentionality. You've worked so hard to heal, to unlearn, to figure out who the hell you are. Don't throw it away because your loneliness got louder than your wisdom. You're not the same person who started this journey. You've evolved. You've earned clarity. So date with standards, ask the hard questions, protect your peace. Don't rush into anything just because it feels good at the moment. Feelings lie, chemistry fades, compatibility doesn't. You're not behind. You're not late. You're not missing out. You're not behind on something. You're building something real this time. Don't trade that for comfort or temporary validation. This next chapter, it's sacred. Protect it with everything you've got. All right, you finally met someone. The texting has been good. There's been a little harmless social media stalking, scrolling their old photos, checking who they follow, seeing if they post anything unhinged, all standards. And now it's time for the first date. If you don't know this person well, meet them there. I get it. Traditionally, I'm all about picking someone up, opening doors, being the gentleman. And if the relationship progresses, absolutely do those things. But this first date, this isn't that kind of date. This is more of a vibe check than a romantic gesture. This is about seeing if there's a connection, not sweeping them off their feet before you even know if there's chemistry. You can call this a date. It's not a date. Don't view it that way. This is simply an opportunity to have conversations in person to feel the person out. Pick a place that allows for conversation. Coffee shops, casual restaurants, parks, anywhere that gives you room to talk, observe, and actually see each other. Avoid loud, overstimulating places. You're not there for a show. You're there to get a read on this person's energy, their manners, their vibe. Restaurants are great because it gives you time inside. Restaurants are great because they give you an inside look at how someone treats other people. Watch how they interact with the staff, how they talk to the waiter. If they say please and thank you, if they put their phone down or stay on it constantly, these are small things that tell you a lot. If you're a man, plan to pay for the first date, not because you're expecting anything in return, not because you're trying to impress or earn points, but because it's a respectful gesture. It's a way of saying thanks for showing up. Someone took time out of their day to took time out of their life to sit across from you and give you a shot. A meal is a small investment for something that could be huge, or at very least a meaningful experience. Either way, win or lose, it's worth it. Driving separately, that's another intentional choice. It's not just a modern dating trend. It's smart. If you both have your own vehicles, your own way out, it gives each of you an added sense of control and safety if the energy is off. It's not clicking. If either of you need to leave for any reason, no one's trapped. No awkward drop-off, no forced goodbyes, no obligations. That little bit of autonomy goes a long way when creating comfort, and comfort is what sets the stage for real connection. Not pressure, not performance, not trying to lock it all down on the first night. Treat the first date like what it is, an introduction, a chance to see if this person fits your life, your values, your peace. Stay grounded, stay curious, and stay in control of your own experience. Now, here's where things get interesting. This is the part most people either skip or stumble through, and it's why they end up 6 months deep into a relationship with someone they were never compatible with to begin with. You're not going to do that. You've put in the work, you've rebuilt yourself, and now you're dating again. You're going to ask the real questions, the one that actually matters, and you're going to ask them clearly. You want to keep the questions open-ended. Don't settle for a simple yes or no answers. You're not checking boxes. You're trying to learn who this person really is. Get a feel for how they think, how they process, and what their core values are. Ask about their religious views. Ask about politics. Yeah, I said about politics. People always want to avoid that topic like it's radioactive, but the truth is these are foundational things. And if your worldviews are on two completely different ends of the spectrum, it's going to cause serious tension later. It might not show up right away, but eventually it will be a problem. Compatibility matters. Shared values matter. Don't dance around that. Ask about their life goals, where they see themselves in 5 years, 10. What does retirement look like to them? Do they want to settle down? Do they even want marriage or kids? Are they career driven, more laid back? Are they spontaneous or structure obsessed? Ask about their childhood, not just to get their backstory, but because how someone grew up often explains how they love, how they fight, how they handle conflict. and how they show up in relationships. You'll learn a lot more from their stories than from their favorite band. We actually put together a courting phase questionnaire on tobebetter.com, and I will be including it at the end of this chapter. It's not a script, it's a toolkit. Something to help you go deeper without making it feel like an interview. I'm going to, when I finish this chapter, I'm going to outro and re-intro, and I'm going to post the questionnaires as a second standalone video, so that there will be a quick thing that people can pull up if they're dating and watching these videos. Maybe I'll get my wife to come back here and hang out with me. Just remember this, the surface level stuff, what they do for work, their favorite movie, what kind of music they're into, that's text conversations. You can talk about that over social media or while you're getting ready for the date. Don't waste precious face-to-face time asking things you could have asked while killing time texting. Use the date to dig. Not in a pushy or an interrogative way, but in a real way. You're not looking for perfection. You're looking for alignment, for awareness, and for honesty. The first few dates should be more about than an attraction. They should be about compatibility at the core. And if you take that seriously, you'll save yourself months or years wasting time with someone who was never right for you in the first place. If the first date goes well and you're genuinely feeling this person, like really feeling them, don't screw it up by moving too fast or trying to lock it down right then and there. You're not rushing into anything. You're playing this with intention, not desperation. Now, if you're a man, the date went well, walk her to her car, period. It's not 1950, but that doesn't mean chivalry has to die. It's not about being old-fashioned. It's about being thoughtful, protective, and present. It shows her that you're not lazy, that you're mindful, and that you're capable of doing something small that makes a woman feel seen and safe. Do not skip this. If you're a lady, pay attention to a man who doesn't do things like this. If you are a lady, make sure that you are treated like one. At the end of the night, when you're saying goodbye, keep it simple. Tell them you had a good time. Thank them for meeting up with you, and that's it. Do not ask for a second date on the spot. Don't try to seal the deal. Don't put them in a position where they feel pressure to give you an answer before they have even had time to process the night. Just thank them genuinely. Say goodbye and let them go. Listen, no touching. You don't need a hug, handshake, or kiss, or make out in the parking lot of your local Applebee's. Seriously, let the night breathe. Let it be clean. Let it end clean and respectful. You don't need physical validation to confirm that the date went well. That'll come in time. And if the connection is real, you'll get plenty of opportunities for that later. Here's where you set yourself apart from everyone else. About 30 minutes after the date ends, shoot them a quick text message. Something simple like, hey, just wanted to make sure you got home okay. I had a great time tonight, and I'd really like to see you again if you're up for it. That right there, that's the move. It shows self-restraint. It shows maturity. It shows that you're not just looking for a warm body. You're looking for a connection. In today's dating world, that kind of respect is rare, and it will absolutely throw them off in a good way. They're going to notice that you're not going to tell, they're going to notice. They're going to tell their friends you'll be the topic of the group chat for the next few hours, and not because of some wild story, because of how normal you were, because of how safe, intentional, and grounded you come across. You gave them space to sit with the date, to reflect, to actually to actually want to see you again. Not just to say yes in the moment because they didn't know how to say no. That's what grown-ass dating looks like. So slow down, play the long game. If it's real, you won't need to rush it. And if it's not, then you'll be glad you didn't jump in too fast into something that wasn't worth your time. Between dates 1 and 2, this is where you start really getting the feel for who this person is, not just how they text or how they carry themselves in a restaurant, but what actually lights them up. You should be asking questions, paying attention, and getting a sense of their hobbies and interests. This is where you start learning how they spend their free time and what they value, what brings them joy. Date 2 should be about them. Find something they enjoy and plan around it. It doesn't have to be extravagant. It doesn't have to be your thing. That's the point. You're showing that you care enough to step into their world for a bit. Whether it's a cooking class, a nature hike, a museum that they've been wanting to check out, this date is about making them feel seen. It also gives you a chance to see how open you are to new experiences, especially ones that might be outside of your comfort zone. Being that this is a new you, it also allows you to see who you are now. Date 3, that's your turn. Take them into your world. Maybe it's a live music spot you love. Maybe it's axe throwing or mini golf or a car show or weird little coffee shop that you like because they make your drink just right. Whatever it is, this one's about sharing a piece of yourself, not just to impress, but to invite them into what you enjoy. With this being the new you, hopefully you found a lot of new things that you enjoy. The structure gives you both a chance to explore what it's like to be in each other's lives without the pressure of deep commitment. It's not about proving anything. It's about connection through curiosity. Excuse me. You're both doing things that matter to the other, and you're watching how each of you shows up, especially when something might not be your usual scene. Maybe you hate mini golf, but you go anyway and laugh through it. Maybe they're not into gardens, but show genuine interest because it means something to you. These are the little moments where compatibility starts to show up, not in the perfect date, but how you experience life together, especially when it's lighthearted. So make these dates fun, make them playful. You're still in discovery mode. And the more intentional you are with how you explore each other's worlds, the more clearly you'll see whether or not this is something worth building. So let's talk about the courting phase questionnaire, the one we have on tobebetter.com. Now, I want to be really clear about this before we get into it. We've had all kinds of feedback from this list. No middle ground. People either say it was the best, most eye-opening date they've ever had, or they tell us their date straight up stormed out. No joke. That's how raw and honest it can get. And honestly, I think that's a good thing because this isn't some fluff. This isn't some fluffy compatibility quiz or what's your favorite color icebreaker. This is a real conversation starter. This is about asking the questions that might matter before you're emotionally invested, if it helps you cut through the fluff and actually figure out if the person sitting across from you is someone you're aligned with or just someone you're attracted to. You can print this right off our website. You can literally make a fun date and go a night around it. Grab a coffee, go sit in a park, pull it out and just start reading through it. Make it like lighthearted if you want, or deep dive right away. Whatever you roll with, just know if they're down for it, it tells you a lot. And who knows, maybe they already listened to the podcast. Maybe they've heard the list. Maybe they'll pull it out of their bag and beat you to it. If that happens, you already know you've got a good one in front of you. The point is, don't be afraid of real conversation. If someone can't handle the intentional dialogue early on, they probably don't have the emotional maturity to build something that lasts. Use this list, ask the questions, and don't be surprised if what starts out as a simple date turns into the most honest and meaningful conversations you've ever had. That's the goal. I'm going to skip to the epilogue and then I'm going to outro, intro, and then we can get into one more, just the questions. I'm actually not going to bring her back here because it's 16 questions. It's going to take me 5 seconds to read it. This isn't a true epilogue. This is a thank you and some final thoughts. First, thank you for buying the book or listening to it if you got it on Audible or YouTube, because I'm not putting it on Audible. The fact that I wrote a book is wild. The want for a second one was humbling, and now I'm currently sitting in what if state knowing that this will be released soon. I hope I delivered. I hope the words in this book gives you power, confidence, and a new outlook on you. You are not your past. You are not every mistake that you've ever made. You are worthy of love. People always say they envy Peaches and I, that they wish that they had a relationship like we do. This is in part how we got there. You can have everything in life you've ever wanted. You just have to do the work. I believe that, and I believe in you. And I hope your next relationship I hope that your next relationship is your last relationship and that it fills every need you have. I hope that even in conflict, you can look at your partner with love and appreciation. Your life is what you make it, so make it yours. Love and light, Christopher Burkett. I mean that shit. I do. I really, truly mean that shit. I hope that you guys have done the work, and I do believe that you're going to have a better life, and I believe in you. I believe that you guys are all worthy of love. I don't care where you're at in your healing journey. You deserve more than you have. You deserve more than you have had, and you deserve a new version of yourself. Whew. All right, guys, that was the end of the book. I just wanted to say thank you guys for being here, for listening to the 3 parts of this thing. I know that you can listen to this entire book in a day now if you wanted to. If you listen to it on fucking faster speed, like we all listen to our audiobooks, you probably get through this thing in a couple hours. But I think you would be doing yourself a disservice to listen to this and not actually do the journal prompts. If you guys are driving and you're listening to the audiobook while you're working and you're doing all of these things that are distractions, you need to take the time to actually do the journaling. That is a huge part of what's going to help you heal and get you into the next version of who you are. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate you guys actually giving a shit enough to listen to my book. I really hope that it's fucking helped your lives. And we'll see you on the podcast.